Welcome back to Sculpted Thoughts, where we unpack the soul of art, past, present, and future. In our previous episodes, we explored how ancient sculptures once guided ethical living and how modern art, and in many cases, has drifted into hollow spectacle, and whether experts have noticed that drift as well. Today, we take this discussion a step further, into the digital ether, because art is changing again. And this time, it's not just losing mindfulness, it might just be losing matter altogether. Let's begin with a broader look at how we got here. Over centuries, art has evolved from the reason-driven Enlightenment to the passion burst of modernism and to the wild and conceptual freedom of the 20th century. Move into Impressionism, Cubism, and Futurism broke away from reality. Jackson Pollock abandoned form for motion. Andy Warhol turned mass production into a paintbrush. Eventually, as art historian Mikhail Sergeev notes, that we arrived at an art for art's sake, autonomous, unbound, unapologetically open to interpretation, and Sergeev doesn't necessarily see that as a bad thing. Coding philosopher Nicholas Berdyaev, he wrote that freedom is not emptiness. Free art grows out of the spiritual depth of the man as a free fruit. Even in abstraction, even in the lack of clear meaning, there can be depth, there can be meaning, there can be mindfulness. But there's a catch. That freedom only works if the artist and the audience engage with art authentically. When abstraction becomes laziness, or worse, a cash grab, we lose that mindfulness connection. And now, enter the latest frontier, NFTs. You probably heard of them. Non-fungible tokens. They're blockchain-based certificates that prove ownership of digital files, art, music, and even memes. In theory, NFTs offer artists new ways to sell and distribute their work, but in practice, they're often less about creative vision and more about profit potential. Anyone can view the image, but only one person can own the NFT. Ownership becomes the point. Not experience, not meaning, not reflection, just possession. This is where things collide, hard, with the mindful frameworks of Aristotle and Epictetus. Most philosophers remind us, mindfulness is not about hoarding, it's not about aesthetics alone, it's about living virtuously, thinking critically, and contributing meaningfully to society. NFT art, especially in NFT sculpture, turns art into a status symbol. It becomes an asset, an investment, a bragging right, not a moment of truth. How can sculpture, once a public form of moral storytelling, thrive in a space where it's reduced to the form of a pixelated possession? To be clear, not all abstract or digital art is unmindful. Not all innovation is bad, but when financial speculation replaces intentional creation, we risk turning art into empty currency. The digital sculpture that exists only to be sold, a collectible bought not for beauty or thought, but for value gain. That's not art in a Stoic or Aristotelian sense. That's not sculpture meant to guide, ground, or grow the human spirit. It's just another product. So, what does this mean for the future? If NFTs and commercial trends continue to dominate the art space, we may be entering an era where mindful sculpture becomes a rare relic, something we read about more than we encounter. Sculpture was once carved in stone to outlast time, to speak across generations. Now, it risks to become nothing more than a fleeting blip on someone's blockchain wallet. Seen, but not felt. Next week, we'll close this mini-series with a hopeful question. Can sculpture be saved? What would it take to return to a place where art, physical or digital, is not to spend, but not to think? But for now, pause the scroll and think, does this make you feel more human or more hollow? Thank you for listening to Sculpted Thoughts. If this episode sparks something inside of you, share it. Or just take a walk and notice the sculptures around you, digital or otherwise, and let them remind you, art is not about transaction, it's a conversation, and it always has been, when we let it be.